Every collapse in this series comes with an excuse attached. The internet changed, Amazon came, the malls died, tastes moved on. And in every file, we've had to argue about how much of the excuse is real. This file is different because this file is the experiment with the excuses removed. Joann, the fabric and craft store, entered 2010 with a record-high stock price and zero debt. Zero. Then exactly one thing changed. A private equity firm bought it. 13 years later, in the middle of the biggest crafting boom in American history, with demand for its products actually rising, Joann went bankrupt twice in under a year. Every one of its roughly 800 stores is gone, 19,000 people lost their jobs, and the brand now belongs to its biggest competitor. When Fortune magazine asked the people who worked there who killed Joann, the answer kept coming back in two words. This is the liquidation files. Open the folder. Start with what Joann was, because the internet's picture of a dying fabric store misses how big this institution actually got. Founded in Cleveland in 1943, the name stitched together from daughters of the founding families, Joann grew over 8 decades into the largest fabric and craft specialty retailer in the country. By the late 1990s, it was the biggest craft brand in America. This wasn't a chain limping through the 20th century. Generations of quilters, sewers, costume makers, and grandmothers treated Joann the way woodworkers treat a lumberyard, not a store, an institution. And critically for our file, in 2010, the business was healthy. No debt on the books, stock at an all-time high. Remember that baseline, because everything in this story gets measured against it. In 2011, Leonard Green and Partners, a Los Angeles private equity firm, took Joann private in a leveraged buyout valued at $1.6 billion. You know the mechanics by now. 11 files in, the money borrowed to buy the company became the company's own debt. A retailer that owed nothing on the day it was purchased woke up owing more than $1 billion, not for anything it bought, but for the privilege of having been bought. And then, for the better part of a decade, the quiet grind that you've now seen kill half the companies on our shelf. Interest payments, year after year, consuming cash that 80 years of fabric selling had never had to spend. Store refreshes deferred, e-commerce underfunded while Amazon and Etsy grew up in the next room. 4 different CEOs cycled through under Leonard Green's ownership, each inheriting the same math. By 2019, Fitch had placed Joann on its loans of concern list, the rating agency's register of companies at meaningful risk of bankruptcy. By 2020, Moody's had it at a C rating, high risk of default. Follow the dates. Joann was on the watch lists for death before the pandemic ever happened. Whatever killed it was already in the bloodstream. Then came the strangest gift in retail history. COVID locked America in its house, and America, it turned out, wanted to make things. Masks at first, by the tens of millions, cut from Joann Fabric. Then quilts, sourdough-era hobbies, crafts with bored kids. Joann's sales jumped more than 23% in a single fiscal year. The company cracked the Fortune 1000 for the first time. This is the moment that makes Joann the cleanest case in our files, because every excuse we opened with just evaporated. Demand? Surging. Relevance? Total. Foot traffic, cultural moment, product market fit? All of it handed to the company on a plate. If the problem had ever been the market, this was the market riding to the rescue. So watch carefully what happened with the windfall. In 2021, at the crest of the boom, Leonard Green took Joann public again, an initial public offering that raised $131 million, with Leonard Green remaining the majority shareholder. Read that move with the eyes this series has given you. The firm didn't use the peak to fix the balance sheet for the long haul. It used the peak to sell shares in the story, monetizing the boom at its highest print while keeping control. One executive later described the pandemic surge to Fortune as what it turned out to be, a blip. Blips are precisely what you sell. And someone did. The blip ended the way blips do. Crafting normalized, the casual pandemic customers went back outside, and Joann's sales fell back toward the dedicated hobbyists who had always sustained it. except now the company was servicing roughly $1 billion of debt on a normal-sized business. By the end of January 2023, it owed $990 million. By early 2024, it owed $1.1 billion. The stock that had gone public during the boom fell below $1, triggering a NASDAQ delisting. In March 2024, Joann filed for Chapter 11. The first bankruptcy was fast, in and out in about a month, and on paper it looked like the system working. $505 million of debt eliminated, lenders taking ownership, Leonard Green's equity wiped out, and the firm finally off the ownership papers 13 years after the buyout. Joann kept every store open and promised a leaner future. But here's the arithmetic that doomed the sequel. Even after shedding $500 million, Joann emerged still carrying over $600 million in debt on a shrinking craft retailer in a weak retail environment, with suppliers now spooked and shipping inventory erratically. The company had escaped a third of the hole. The hole was still a hole. 8 months later, January 15, 2025, Joann filed again. Restructuring advisors have a grim nickname for a second filing that fast. Chapter 22. And this one wasn't a rescue, it was a liquidation from the opening page. Going out of business sales began immediately. By the end of May 2025, every one of Joann's roughly 800 stores had closed. 19,000 employees, the cutting counter veterans, the ones who could eyeball a half yard, were gone. And in the final indignity, the Michaels companies, Joann's chief competitor, bought the corpse's name, the trademarks, the house brands, and the beloved Big Twist yarn line. Today, typing Joann's old web address redirects you to michaels.com. The 82-year-old institution is now, functionally, a landing page for its rival. Now, the honest paragraph, because this series does not do cartoon villains. Joann had real problems beyond the debt. Michaels and Hobby Lobby were tough competitors. Amazon and Etsy pulled crafters online, inventory stumbled badly near the end, and Joann's own bankruptcy statements blamed a difficult retail environment and constrained inventory. All true. But here's why the excuses still cannot carry the file. Every one of those competitors faced the same environment, and in the quarters Joann was shrinking, its rivals were growing. Same market, same customers, same Amazon. The difference wasn't the industry, and we know it wasn't the demand, because we watched demand surge and the company die anyway. The variable that separated Joann from the companies that lived is the one that changed in 2011. The people Fortune interviewed, the vendors, the former employees, the Quilting Guild faithful still baffled at how a beloved chain managed to fail, answered the who killed Joann question in 2 words: Leonard Green. And Joann wasn't the firm's only funeral that season. The same stretch saw Leonard Green portfolio companies Container Store and Prospect Medical Holdings hit bankruptcy as well. Zoom out one more click and the pattern becomes an era. Private equity owns about 6.5% of the American economy, and in 2024, according to the Private Equity Stakeholder Project, it was behind 56% of the largest bankruptcies in the country, 6% of the economy, half the corporate funerals. That's not a coincidence, this series discovered. That's the water we've been swimming in for 12 files. So let's close the cleanest file on the shelf. Joann is the case that isolates the variable. Healthy company, 0 debt, record stock, add a leveraged buyout, change nothing else, and wait. When the once-in-a-century demand surge arrived, it bought the company a Fortune 1000 badge and its owners an exit window, and it could not buy back 13 years of interest payments. The customers showed up, the sewing machines hummed. The math had been decided in 2011. The next time someone tells you a retailer died because people stopped coming, remember the one that died while they were still coming, fabric in hand, masks on the counter, demand at an all-time high. The registers were never the problem. The paper was. If you want more files like this one, the companies you grew up with, and the deals that quietly hollowed them out, that's what we do here at the Liquidation Files. The next file is already open. I'll see you in that one.